So we are on session what?
Six, six,
Oh,
six.
six. Okay, so we are on session six
Yeah,
of live streaming the Creative Network.
yeah,
So you want to do a quick recap on what we have so far?
yeah. Sure. So this is session six. In the previous five session, what we've basically done is we started with the React client side. We got the basic kind of plumbing and settings and basic architecture for the client side set up, and then we started work on the homepage. After we've done the homepage, we went over and started the server side, more specifically the GraphQL. So last session, we got the first version of the GraphQL working, right? So we basically have a data structure, a, a data schema in GraphQL that supports data for a single card object or topic object on our homepage. And I think we've decided this session we will dedicate the entire session to the client side again. Um, yeah, so that's what we have. That's our progress so far.
Okay, so you want to talk a bit about what the project is?
Sure. This project is called oh, it's not called the Full Stack Network.
Okay, cool.
I was gonna say the Full Stack Network. This project is called the Creative Network, right?
Hmm.
Um, I think the short story is, we've seen on Reddit, on other websites. What's the other website seen? Imager, right?
Mm-hmm.
We've seen people like posting, their battle stations. Basically, people. It seems like people prefer to show off, their own home office or their do it yourself, their DIY projects, right? We've seen that happen at Reddit. We've seen that happen Imager, Pinterest or Facebook, whatever it is. Like people love sharing, especially people who are passionate about the thing they work on their own, like their DIY projects, right? I think the idea started as we wanted to build a platform where people not only they can share and show off the the project they build, such as their home office or battle station, they could also maybe have a chance to make a little bit money off of it. So I think that's the core idea about the project, right? By the way, the battle station is like a computer setup where people play games and do their stuff. Like that's the nickname for battle station. So the creative network is really we want to build a network where people can post pictures, right, and post details and and educate everyone else how to build these projects, while they can make referral links to other e-commerce sites on where to purchase the parts that's required to build these projects. And then they'll be able to get referral fee for every purchase made through their links. And the consumers of these contents, right, they can learn how to build these projects, right, they can consume this user generated content. So that's the basic idea, and it can evolve over time as well, right? Just correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, you're the originator of the idea, of course.
No, I think you got it right. I mean, it's just a place for people to share, their creative ideas, whether it's a creative space or it's a creative creation.
Yep.
Whether it's a carpenter, just a home project, of like you redid your living room and so on and so forth. So then you can link to products and stuff like that. So I think that's the basic idea. But
Yeah.
yeah, and then we thought, why not like work on it together, and stream it. And there's absolutely no reason not to. So yeah, we can go and kind of get started. So
Sure.
let's go ahead and recap a bit, just about what we have so far. So let me start a new tmux session here called client, and then we're going to start a new tab in my open source folder.
So how's your computer doing? Is it okay?
Yeah, I think so far it's doing okay, but we'll see how it goes. So we have the creative network server here. So we'll start a new session here. What Tmux new? Oh, session dash s server. And then here we'll have our server. So we'll split this screen into three, and then yarn start here. So we'll see the server running. And then we'll do basically the same here, and yarn start to get the client running.
Do you want to kind of discuss briefly what our goal is for this
Yeah,
session?
but
What do you think?
I mean, before we do that, let's just make sure that we understand what we have so far.
Sure.
So let's see, we have localhost here 3000, and it's GraphQL.
Hello world.
Um, Yeah, and this is the GraphQL we have. And what did we have? We have all topics, right?
Yeah, that's
So yeah, all topics. And then here we have a title. We have a description. And yeah, and we have tags. And inside tags, we have a name, I think. Right? So this is the basics of kind of what we have on the server side. This is done by a few things. One is, let's go ahead and dive in here for a bit. So we have server.js here. And this server has some basic, really, really basic infrastructure for GraphQL. And then what we have here is add mock functions to schema, and this is provided here by the mock. So basically everything you see on this page is being provided by mocks. There is no database yet. And you can actually see it's being provided by some fake data, so it's kind of regenerated every time you call this GraphQL. We also have a thumbnail, I think, so we can, query, quote unquote, like our database from the client side, and then see things.
Yep.
And let's see what we have here in the compilation. I think I know what it is. So let's see the node-v. So node 6.9.5. So vim.node node version here. And what's the latest node version? So yeah, I can just do an npm rebuild and force. So let me just do that. So this error, just so people can understand, this error is because my build for this project was on a newer version of Node. And now I'm using actually like an older version. I'm using 6.9.5.
Okay.
Which is a stable, long-term version. So now I need to rebuild something to get my CSS going again. So once we do that, I want to just go and look at the client side, and then we can dive in and start working.
Sure. Why did you go to the latest version? What changed between last time and this time?
Well, I installed. I had to reinstall NVM.
Okay.
And my default is 695. So that's basically
Okay.
what happened.
Gotcha. Gotcha. You guys use a lot of Node at your work?
Um, So for us, we basically have this. So our stack is composed of client side, which we have two apps. One is Angular, and one is React.
Mm-hmm.
We then have from the client side there are gateways, which the client side only talks to the gateways.
What's a gateway?
Gateway is basically the way to query all of the apps, all of the microservices from
Mm,
one gateway, right? Um, so the front end speaks to the gateway. We have three gateways.
mm-hmm.
One of them is Node with Express. One of them is GraphQL.
I see.
Um,
I see.
and then we have, think about 30 microservices. Each of them does, one thing. So we have like a microservice for permissions. We have a microservice for, Q&A, like questions and answers, and so on and so forth. So the gateways, they speak to the services and return answers to the client.
That is a very interesting structure. So basically, the gateway kind of act as a like a caching layer for all the data,
Well, it's not really a caching layer. It's more of
like an API service, right?
yeah, exactly.
It's
So,
an API service.
mm-hmm, yeah.
So let's say it. So that means the GraphQL service is gonna grab data from like multiple source, like 8 or 10 different microservices.
Um,
Like if I query like to the GraphQL, is it possible like a single query is actually getting the data from like three
yeah,
different microservices?
yeah, yeah. It's usually about three, I guess.
I see. Okay. And then the client side basically doesn't really know or has no visibility where the data come from. The
No,
client side
no. The
just
client
know
side
that.
says like, "Give me my projects." Um, so then the server side, the gateway will go speak to the permission layer to
Hmm.
say, "Hey, this user asked for project. What project is he allowed to view?" And then with the
Interesting.
project that he's allowed to view, we go to
Hmm.
the project provider, and then we grab the project provider, like projects from the project provider, and return it to the client.
That's interesting. Okay, that makes sense. I
Yeah,
think that makes sense.
yeah, it's pretty pretty interesting.
It's pretty interesting. Yeah, I mean, um, it simplify it kind of hide basically the gateway is an interesting thing because it hides the complexity behind it, right? The client doesn't really know how complex it is and doesn't care.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Okay. But then I wonder, in scenario, let's say if I ask for a data set and then this data set, the gateway needs to ping like three data source, and then only two data source returns the data. And then does it has to wait for the third data source to return? Like what would happen in that situation?
Well, yeah, so it has to wait for the third data source. Otherwise, the request is considered broken.
Oh, really? Okay. So they're like dependent. It's basically dependent on all service to respond.
Yeah, yeah, it has to wait for all the services to respond. The requests are cascading, so if one service doesn't respond to you, then the next service is basically broken, and so on and so forth. So basically, everything starts with permission,
Hmm.
um, and then and then it cascades from there.
What does cascading mean?
Cascade means you wait for one, you get the other, you wait for the other, you get one another, you get for you know what I mean. It's not parallel.
Hmm.
One is waiting for the other.
Mm,
Yeah,
I see. You are you using Angular 1 or 2?
one.
Oh, Angular. So you like the React better, the Angular one?
Yeah, of course.
Uh,
Um, all right. So this is still kind of compiling here. So we'll just wait a minute for that before we can see like what we have on the client side. Um, and then we can continue. Um, so we have a title, description, thumbnail. Is there something else we have?
Image, I think. Image URL, yeah, something like
Okay. Right. So let's just mute notifications here.
that. Email.
Yeah. Um,
Oh my. We have an image.
well, we have a thumbnail, description, title, and
Okay, thumbnail,
ID,
yeah.
and the tags they have an ID and a name as well. Um, yeah. So we right now we just need to kind of start querying. Um,
So that means we're gonna build Redux today.
yeah, we're gonna work with Redux and query GraphQL from Redux. Yes.
Okay, that would be interesting. That's very exciting.
Yeah, once our node kind of compiles here with the node SAS, then we can continue. All right, so seems like it did. So let's do yarn, and then we can do yarn start, and see what we have on the client side here.
You know, one thing I want to mention is I'm kind of slowly to start to realize like one of the most interesting thing about doing full stack development is that it just so it's such a beauty that you can see how the client side work and how the server side work, and then you're able to. It's almost like you can see the entire world, right? You have so much visibility into both sides, and I feel like that's actually a very interesting thing. You know, it makes it makes building a project more kind of motivating,
Yeah, yeah, indeed. So
right?
yeah,
Yeah.
indeed. So this is our client side. This is all React. So we can kind of start. Um, we can start working with um, our client side. All right. So again, just to recap, we have this is a client side, this is a React and Redux, and then we have the GraphQL part, which you can query like all topics, and it will give you a list of I think 20 projects um, that you can query. And what we're gonna do, so right now this is all static data.
Yep.
Um, so what we're gonna do is we are going to create um, a query from the client side to the server side, um, and what did I want to say? And basically build this list out of the server side. All right.
Cool.
So let's go ahead and start doing that. So let's look at our component list here. So we have an app, and inside the app, we have the navigation, which is the top part, and then we have the children, and we have the card, which has an index and a presenter, which is basically just React, basic, really really basic stuff, and then we have the home page, um, which also has an index and a presenter, um, and yeah, and then here we basically render really really naively we render cards, right? Other than that, we have some navigation, we have some fonts, we have just the root reducer here, which really does nothing, and we have our index, which kind of wires everything together, right? So far, really nothing smart. Like really nothing that is super interesting or super complicated, and so on and so forth. So what we want to do now is we want to start applying some GraphQL to our app, right?
Mm-hmm.
So just so we'll understand, there are a few ways to query GraphQL, right? So you can literally, what we do here, um, GraphQL, you can do that with a curl request. So if we look here, inspect,
Like if
um,
with a URL, like
yeah,
query.
yeah, of
Oh,
course. So if we go to the network here, and we'll do this. So you see like GraphQL, and there is a response with all of our with all of the stuff, and then we have in the headers. So you see this, we have a query, and the query is just a string,
okay, so the query is okay. The entire query is a string.
right?
But what
So
does it look like? Can we
so
actually
so
inspect
look
it?
so look at this. So this is, let's open up curl.sh here. So you see this, we do curl, and then we have a header here, and then another header here. You see,
Okay,
um,
pragma no cache.
and we have accept encoding. So we can get rid of all of this, but as you can see, this is just curl. So you see, user agent. Um, what else? Dash H. Where is another one? So there is another one, and then there is another one here. What else? So accept application JSON, cache control, no cache. So all of these, it's literally not needed, and I'll show you that in a second. So all of these I can remove, and then here we have a cookie which we don't really need as well. And then we have a connection keep alive, and then we have a data binary. So here,
Oh, the data is in binary?
yeah. So and then query, all topics, thumbnail tags, operator, and compressed. So we can do this and not compressed. All right.
Mm-hmm.
So and then I can take this and I can execute this.
You think we're gonna get stuck?
Must provide document. Well, I did provide a document. Oh, this is probably just my ZSH acting up. Um, but what I'm saying is, this is probably ZSH, because of the slash ends and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But it's basically you just post some data, right?
Okay.
So I don't know if you know, you remember like the API I designed, that basically, you send a JSON to it. You
Yeah.
have to think of
Yeah.
this as like the earlier version of GraphQL,
Ah. All
right?
right.
Because if you look at this here, like the GraphQL here, right? I mean, this could be JSON, and this on the server side is mapped to another thing, right?
Yeah.
So if you think about, and we both are talking about the same API. So if you think about it, it's literally GraphQL without GraphQL.
It's
Um,
Avi version of GraphQL.
well, it's a year before GraphQL was even born. Um,
Really?
yeah,
Really?
yeah.
No way. When was GraphQL born?
I think a couple of years. Um, so what else do we need here now? So what we're gonna do, because we have Apollo on the server, we can also have Apollo on the client, and they have like this documentation here, about how to kind of work with Apollo,
Every.
and Redux. Um, sorry.
Wow. Good job.
No, no, it's okay. So they have this version of how to work with Apollo and Redux, and you see you need to install like Redux Apollo, and then you have like a to-do reducer, and you have a user reducer. So someone on live edu, um, pirate pirate of the sea, he's saying hello, and he's from San Jose as well, from the Alameda downtown. So Stevens is from San Jose, and I'm from San Jose, and then we have two more people in the chat room from San Jose. So I live on the Saratoga border, Saratoga and Campbell border, in San Jose. Stevens lives closer to the 101, I think.
Yeah, North San Jose,
Yeah,
basically.
North San Jose. I'm in West San Jose, and then we have Alameda, which is what, East San Jose.
Uh,
Um,
yeah. Isa.
so someone is asking if I work for a big company. So I work for Globality, which is not a big company. Um, it's about 80 people, I would say. And yeah, I recently joined about a couple months ago, less than a couple months, like a month and a half. Um, yeah, no, I don't work for a big company. No. Okay, so we have here like an like an introduction to edit with to Redux. So here we have a create store and a combined reducer, and then we have the Apollo here. You see this?
Yep.
And then we have in the middleware. Okay, so this is Apollo. Which what client is? Okay, so Apollo is Apollo client. Then we pass in the store. Okay, so this is good. And then client is Apollo client and Redux root reducer. Redux root selector state dot different key. What? I don't know what that means. Combined reducer different key client dot reducer. Okay. If you'd like to use a different root key for the client reducer rather than Apollo, okay, so I don't want. I can use Apollo. And then what do we have in connect? Okay, so connect is on, and then dispatch view list, and then what is list with data? Okay, so list with data. List with data seems to be okay. So clone list. So we have mutate. Where is mutate coming from? All right. Where is mutate coming from? That's unclear. Okay, you can continue to use Redux, connect higher order component to wire state. You can connect before, after, or both, attaching GraphQL data to your component. Okay, this is not really clear to me, but you know what? Let's kind of start, right? Um,
So do you mind explaining why do we need a pull on the client side? What does it do for us? How does it help us?
so you remember we were in their meetup there,
Yeah.
and you know they provide like a nice abstraction above it. They provide visibility and stuff like that, so it's kind of nice to use that library.
They provide visibility for what?
What do you
For
mean?
for Redux?
Yeah, for working with GraphQL.
Okay. So it will make it easier to query GraphQL,
Mm-hmm.
I guess.
Okay, so let's go to our configure store here, and let's see what we have here. So we have the middleware, and we have the thunk, and we have router. So let's see where this fits in. So here we have the create store and initial state, which is nothing really. So we can do this. Um, and then here we basically, where's our reducer? So root reducer. So root reducer is here. And this is a combined reducer. Okay. So, all right. So here we can already. So where does the Apollo provide? Oh, I see. So Apollo provider needs to be instead of the provider. All right. So let's go ahead before we even dive in here. Let's do yarn add. Um, what is it called? React Apollo. Okay, so we're gonna add that. And then here in our index.js, we're gonna import, what is it called? Apollo provider.
Mhm.
provider from React Apollo, right?
Yep.
And then we're gonna close it with Apollo provider.
So where did the initial provider come from? Like before we change it to Apollo provider.
It came from here. Let me just, my computer is starting to suffer. Here, so React Redux. So we can get rid of that now.
Got it.
And then we need in our root reducer here. We need to import okay, so someone DRMJG, Dr. Manage, I guess. Your stream has a minor issue. Which video bitrate are you streaming at? So there is my OBS settings here. So output. So video bitrate is 2300. Yeah, I followed this broadcaster guide. Yeah, I did. What's the issue right now with the streaming? All right, so so use 2000, but if I use 2000, I need to kind of disconnect and start the stream again. Okay, so we have the Apollo provider, and now we need to import the Apollo client here. So import Apollo client from, what is it? React Apollo. React Apollo. And then we instantiate the client into a constant, like so. And our reducer is called client.reducer here. So we can do that. Okay, so so then we also have the client.middleware here. So we actually need to instantiate the client in another place. Okay, but that's okay. Well, I guess it's not. So let's look at our configure store here. Here. So root reducer. Combine reducer. So here, we actually, so here's what we're gonna do. So we're gonna create export default function. Let's say so FPS, let's see. Someone is asking about FPS. I don't know. Let's see. I would love if you could tell me what the issue is, but then I can. So this is stream FPS. Where do I find the FPS? So FPS probably 30. So it's 1280 by 800. You see the filter and then FPS of 30.
Yeah.
Yeah, someone is asking that on the chat room. Okay, so here we export default function. Let's say get reducer, and we're gonna pass the client here. And then here we're gonna return this one. Okay. So now we can go back here. Yeah, now my stream is like my video is starting to suffer because of the Skype.
Mm-hmm.
Um, okay, so let's do this with the client here, and then we move the Apollo client here. Um, and then here we have the client and then root reducer. So this is going to be get reducer. So here this is going to be get reducer, and we're going to pass in the client.
Okay. Get reducer client. Get reducer.
And then another thing we're going to do is we are going to add that to the middleware. So we're going to do middleware dot push and then client dot middleware.
When we do this middleware, does order matter? Like,
Yeah,
does it matter?
order matters.
So why thunk router then client dot middleware? Why this order?
Yeah, just a sec. Someone is asking in the chat room, what is function of return? So what do you mean? Like here, when I do export default function get reducer and then return here? So let me know what you mean here. Um, okay.
So you wanna answer my question?
Yeah. What's your question?
Why do you? How do you know we to push thunk first, router second, and client dot middleware third? You
Oh
said
no,
the
it's
order
it's
matter.
not order matters, but I mean for me, so what I'm saying is if you need something to execute first, you need it to be first. But for me, it doesn't really matter. What I'm saying is order is significant, but for me, it's not.
Okay, I see.
Okay, so let's see if our project um, compiles now. And it seems like it does compile but doesn't render. So let's see what the problem is. So Apollo client was passed a client instance. Make sure you pass in your client via the client prop. Okay, so let's see this. Oh, so here we need a client too. All right, so let's
Mm.
see. So we need the client here as well. Okay, so we actually probably need to move this another level up, but let's see. Okay, so this is so here, and then src index.js. Yeah, okay. So here, let's do this. So we're gonna import Apollo client here, and then we can get rid of this here. And then here, configure store is gonna accept a client, and it's gonna accept an initial state. And then here in the configure store, I'm gonna pass in the client, and the initial state is gonna be blank. And then client is gonna get instantiated here. Okay, so this is here, and then this is here. And then in the Apollo provider, what do we have? We probably have a store and a client. Yes, we do. We have a store and a client. So the store is a store, and a client is the client. Okay, so now our app should compile and should also work. So let's verify that. Yeah, I think screen sharing and streaming just does not work. Um,
Yeah, unfortunately.
it's just incredible how My computer is suffering here. Um, no, it's. I mean, it's like it's. Just to move from one place to the other. It's incredibly painful.
Yeah.
Um, it just doesn't work. Um, okay, so we have it here, and let's refresh here. So binary sloth tree is asking on the Twitch chat, have you used Apollo before? And the answer to that is no. I haven't used Apollo before. Um, this is the first time. So Apollo.middleware is failing. Oh, client.middleware is failing. So let's see. Um, I get it. I get it. Okay. So here, you see this middleware?
Mm.
So we actually don't have client here. So what we need is to actually move this here. And then this is gonna work. So before we had the client here, then it worked, but now it doesn't work anymore. So I had to move it one level in.
Okay, I get that part.
So someone is asking Atmosphere 1C, can you just share a TMAX session instead of screen share? So we did that, but we did that for the first 5 sessions. But Stevens says that his experience is hurt because he can't see the screen. So
Yeah.
um,
It's about, yeah, because the backend we got to try screen sharing because then I can see what's going on at the browser. Basically, that was what we were trying to experiment with.
yeah. So yeah, so what we used to do right literally up until this session is to use Steven's SSH to my machine, and we shared the TMUX session. Um, but because it's like, hey, refresh here and refresh there, like his experience was hurt. So he asked to do screen share, but I think my computer is suffering a lot by this decision. Okay, so now we have the plumbing working. So we have the GraphQL part, well, just the Apollo client part working.
Hmm.
So let's see what we need now. So what is with clone list? So with clone list, and then GraphQL, and then props, on props, and mutate. Clone list return mutate dot then result on props dot on select list. Um, okay, so we have that. I mean, this part is really not clear to me. Like, what is this thing doing? Okay, so list with data. List with data is with clone list and then list. What is list coming from? List, clone list. Okay, so this is already um, yeah, and I mean this is the part where what I'm missing. Like, what is this doing? So GraphQL clone list, clone lists from mutations. Let's see here. Okay, Apollo GraphQL. Um, let's see if we have like an example repository with Redux. GraphQL tutorial Redux. Okay, so nothing here. um, Hermes. The front end. Let's see what we have here. Okay, this really doesn't say a lot. Um, so we don't really have a reducer here. Um, I don't know. Let's see. So Atmosphere 1C and binary sloth tree. I mean, I didn't think it's laughable. I mean, we are streaming that to, for people to have a good experience, and I think right now the single person um, that's being hurt by this is me because my computer is just slow. I mean, if the stream is hurt by this, then just let me know. But I mean, for now we can work with that. Um, all right, so let's see. We have the Apollo client here. What do we have here in like the reduce? We had no. It's like TypeScript. Okay, so GraphQL. What do we have here? Okay, so this is this. This is this. Fetch more. Okay, this is not really what I want. So here's what I'm looking for, right? I'm looking for dispatching an action, and then the reducer manipulating the state, and then seeing this thing work. This is literally like the one thing I'm trying to do. So, what is clone list here? Clone list. Okay, so this is clone list. Return mutate. Where is mutate? Okay. You can continue using React Redux Connect. Okay, where is GraphQL here? So this is GraphQL. So let's see what we have here, mutations. So mutations, we have, oh, this is a mutation, got it. Okay, so this is a mutation, submit repository, this is GQL, mutation, submit repository, repo full name. Okay, got it. New entry data, GraphQL, submit repository, new entry. New entry is a component, but I don't need a component. I mean, this is the part that I'm not really connecting with. I'm not getting. It
Mm-hmm.
seems that you need to kind of pass a component, and I don't want to pass a component. I want to render the component in a different way. I basically want it to return objects.
But we're trying to. I'm really confused at this point. Like, what are we trying to do here? Are we trying to just construct a GraphQL query and query the server?
Yeah,
But well, how does it has to do with component? Like, why do we need a component to query GraphQL?
that's what I want. I don't want the component. I don't want to worry about the component right now. I just want to do the query to the server, and that's it. Just update the state, right? I'll worry about rendering later.
Yeah.
And what I'm looking at here, and again, this is just the documentation. Maybe the documentation is unclear and not perfect, which seems like it is. But what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to kind of understand like how to decouple.
Yeah.
It's like when when you have the action reducer and you update the store, like well, let's say we already have an application like this working. I don't want to pass components around. Like seems like this is what it's doing. And so let's see what we have here. So let's do query here. So let's do GraphQL queries. So you see this?
Mm-hmm.
You see, like here I'm pointing to the screen.
Yeah. It
So
is.
you know what I'm saying? Like why?
Right.
Just
Yeah. Its documentation is not good.
why do I need this and this together? Why is the GraphQL tied to a specific component?
Yeah. Because ideally, we just want the reducer to get the data, right? What we do with the data, we can decide on our own.
Exactly. And this is exactly what I'm trying to do. And again, every time you have this GraphQL reference, there is like a component. I don't want the component. I just want the data to be in the state. That's it.
Yeah.
You know?
And I don't see any reason why they would couple it. Why do they have to do it with a certain component? Like, it's just not
Okay, so
necessary.
let's see. Function allows you to do pagination with your query component. Okay, now I don't want that. Um, and this is really, really, really. Yeah. Okay, let's see. So let's look at the. Okay, so GQL, import GQL. The GQL template tag is what used to define GraphQL queries in your Apollo client apps. It parses your GraphQL query into the GraphQL AST format consumed by Apollo client methods. You may embed GraphQL document. For convenience, it is re-exported in React Apollo and GraphQL. Okay, so then we have Apollo client, and then we have create network interface. We have the client with Apollo. And again, like with Apollo, my component. Come on, man. I mean,
Why does it? But
I don't know.
why? I don't understand.
I don't understand. I'm just I want to query the server without being coupled to a component. That's what I want. Because man. Okay, so let's see here. Graph QL.
Just try. But what about just try it? Try it without the component. Try it with the component.
Okay, let's see here. Okay. This is React Native. I don't want React Native. Yeah, again, you see this? Again.
Component.
So this is maybe there is a fetch.
It has to be. What? Can you think of any reason why you have to tie it with a certain component? Like you wouldn't be able to get the data without the component. Like I can't think of any reason why that would happen.
Well,
It's just a.
To the wrapped component in a prop called data.
Oh.
So it's basically a prop on the component, but I don't want it to be a prop on the component. I just want to fetch the data. And every time I see like a GQL, a GraphQL, I see current user for layout. Where is current?
But do the data ever make it to the state? To the reducer state?
Probably does. But what I want, if you want a complete control over the props, use the props option. So what and again, okay, so let's see here. API reference on the GraphQL container with query. So again, to do app, and
My component.
so binary sloth tree is asking a question here on Twitch. The question is, so a query is sent when the component is mounted, and that's not really necessary. There is no mention of when the query is sent. You can send the query whenever you want. You have full control of the again from this documentation. You have full control on when the query is sent, but seems like you send a query and then you send a component into that query, so the component gets .data equals assigned on the component itself. So say you have a feed, then a feed.data will have the feed data coming from the server. But I don't want that. All I want is, and again, I have the GraphQL endpoint here. All I want is to execute this query and have this data here. And now you see why it's data, because it's literally just parsing this. And what I want is just to call this and just have it in my state. I don't want to worry about the component, because think about it. I can render it this way, and then I can render, on the right side I can render the latest 5, right, and just take the top 5 out of this state. And seems like this GraphQL client is highly coupled to a component. Again, I don't want to, I'm not criticizing, I'm not pointing fingers here, but what I'm saying is based on my reading of the documentation, it seems like that's the case where it's just like super tied, super tied together. Um, and I'm not seeing anything even remotely. Every time you see this GraphQL thing, you basically see a query. Like query current user for layout, current user login avatar, and then that's it. Um, so that kind of sucks. Um, so let's see if we have here. So we have GraphQL. Again, you see every time you see the GraphQL, you see a component tied to it. I mean, come on, man. Um, so GraphQL with to do app query. Um, yeah, this. I don't want to enhance our component. I don't want to create. So these 3 lines, with 3 lines of comments,
Mm-hmm.
exemplify exactly what I don't want to do. Right? I don't want to create an enhancer, enhance a component. No, that's not what I want to do.
Yeah, it's this. Is there? Do we have to use Apollo middleware to query GraphQL?
No. Um, config. Um, so we have compose, we have enhancers. No, it's literally coupled.
Seems, yeah, it's coupled.
Um,
But it feels like if we use it, it's gonna put a lot of limitation on how we can architecture the client side. Like we kind of the whole client side has to follow this thing now. Like
hmm. This doesn't seem logical to me. You know what I'm saying? Um,
yeah, it doesn't make too much sense why we can't just store the data in the state and then use it however we see fit. Why do we have to pass it to a component? Like why can't they decouple it? Just like how is it different from making like a API call to a REST client, right? How different it is.
well, that's what I'm trying to find out.
Yeah, because remember that our previous projects, we make a call to the REST
Hi,
client, right?
Lulu 9100.
What?
Lulu 1900 said hi. 9100 said hi. So I'm saying hi back. Yeah, go ahead. What did you say?
I remember the previous React clients we were working together, right? If we make like if we were working with a typical REST endpoint, we can just make a call to the endpoint, grab the data, put in the reducer, and then use that data wherever we want. Like, I don't see any reason why we won't be able to do it with GraphQL.
Um, well, I don't either. Like literally, I don't either. And seems like there's a lot of like assumptions here on how you want to kind of architect your application. You sync with the server, you do refetch, you pull, you do like a lot of stuff like that, which gives away a lot of control. Um, look at this, man. It's fucking. Um, so we have query and Okay, so reducer. Well, update queries can only be used to update other queries based on the result. The reducer the update the query results based on. Okay, so all right. So this is okay. So this is GraphQL, but again, you see this comments page.
Yeah.
I mean, this is yeah. This is not um
This is not good.
no. I mean, I don't like it. I just don't like the way it's coupled to components. I don't wanna do that. I just want to query the server, update the state, and that's it.
Can we just can we construct a call on our own?
You see, so it's GraphQL query configuration and then component.
Yeah.
The most important thing is supported by React Apollo. You can create higher order components that can execute queries and update reactively based on the data in your Apollo store. The GraphQL function returns a function which will enhance any component with reactive GraphQL capabilities. Pattern which also used by React Redux Connect. So again, this is exactly what I don't want to do. You can also use GraphQL function as a decorator on your React class component. In your code, looks like this. So GraphQL, GQL query to do, and then constant data is data. The config is a second argument passed. So we have the options. So binary slots tree is asking, have you looked at relay yet? And you actually read my mind. And I was going to look at relay next. And let's see what we have here. Let's see. Okay, so we have an item view viewer, and we have this, and then we return. Okay, so this is prop types, Redux, container, map state, on image click item ID. We dispatch an action. Okay, so this is the action, and then this is the relay container. Create container, item Redux component. Item Redux component is this component here. And then we have a viewer, which is a relay.ql fragment. Okay. So, it's not really different. It's nicer. The API is cleaner, but it's not inherently different. Still seems like they prefer the higher order component way and not just updating some state, which is not super nice. So we have GQL, GraphQL, with data, reproduce and refetch.
So do you want to give it a try to the Apollo way of doing it? Pass it to a component. How much limitation is that going to restrain us, constrain?
Let's see here. Let's see what we have here. So we have UI, we have screenshots. So here we have a client. So we have the Apollo provider. You see it like the way we have here. So this is the create Apollo client. Network interface is network interface with subscriptions. Initial state is window.apollo state. Okay. So this is really like a okay, so this is subscription on the server side. Okay, and then here we have GraphQL. So this is comment subscription GraphQL, subscription comment added. This is profile. So query current user for layout. So this is query on the comments, current user entry, created that, and then repository. Okay. So this is a more like a fuller example, which has a lot of things that we don't necessarily need. So I'm kind of stuck in between, whether just rolling my own, just querying the server, basic queries and putting the stuff into the state, or trying to use Apollo, the way they think it's supposed to be used, which I don't like.
Yeah. How much benefit does Apollo bring us on the client side? Like, how much free stuff does it come with that's valuable?
I don't know. I mean, it's yet to be seen. So we have this. So let's see. So we can continue using connect. So where is connect here actually? Okay, so I see connect, and then we have state, list ID, state.list.id, and then we have a dispatch, and then list with data and state. Okay. And then this is the list. So here with clone list is GraphQL, and then GraphQL clone list from mutation. Okay. Yeah, I mean, this is test exclude GraphQL tag loader. Let's see what we have here. Current user GraphQL. Okay, so we have this GraphQL. It's a React loader. Okay. Okay, let's see a bit of like how people are using it in real life. I want to see, so this is Relay, which we definitely can use.
Is Relay going to replace Redux?
I don't know. That's a. So someone is saying, how about Loca? Let's see, what is Loca? Worth a shot. I mean, we can do that. So there it is. Simple JavaScript client for GraphQL. Let's see. I mean, I like the simple already. So we have a transport here, Loca transport HTTP, and then we have a transport GraphQL. Okay, this looks good. And then we have a query, and then with the query we have a result.
That's good.
Yeah, and then result.allFilms. Already looks nicer.
Yeah, it's much simpler. So lightweighted. That's what it looked like.
Yeah, it looks very, very lightweight. Um,
Dude, this is worth a try, man.
Worth
It
a
looks
shot.
nice.
Worth a
Yeah,
shot.
absolutely. Apollo just feels too heavy-handed. It's like so opinionated.
Um, Here we connect Loca, Facebook, SW API, GraphQL demo. Let's see what we have here. Oh, yeah. This is not working. Okay, so we have client.query. Where is client? So client is new Loca, and then transport, new transport. Okay, so this is client. Okay. Um, okay. So let's give it a shot.
Yeah.
Let's give it a shot. Okay, so first things first, you can't say that we're not listening to the people in the chat room. So first things first, let's check out yarn package and src. All right, and then we are going to do yarn add, and we're going to add loca and loca transport http. Right, so
Go up. How many? Let's go up. How often do they maintain this? Go up. A
um
year ago, 6 months ago. Oh, okay.
well, yeah, I mean,
Not very bad.
nah, it's
Fine.
not bad. It's not good, but it's not bad.
Yeah.
um
It's okay.
yeah. All right, so let's do this. So we have loca now. This doesn't work. So let's see what we. Oh, I actually know this guy. I think he created the React storybook or something in that nature. I think I know this guy.
Like
Well,
you
not personally, but like I know.
hang out.
Um, like storybook and build GraphQL query with JavaScript, GraphQL block scheme. Yeah, storybook. You see.
Mm.
Yeah,
What
React
is it?
storybook. It's like a nice. It's a nice thing. Um, okay, so let's go ahead and do that. I definitely don't mind. So so we have transport require, and then we do transport. So this is new transport. Um, okay. So let's try this. Okay, so first things first. On our homepage, so home presenter, and then this is home index. We are going to map dispatch to prop. So this is fetch topics, right? And this is going to be this, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then this is going to be dispatch, fetch, no, not fetch topics. This is going to be get topics, I guess, right?
Get top. We haven't defined get topics yet.
No, we haven't. So here we are going to src components home and then actions, and this is going to be get topics.js, and there's going to be an action. Action name is going to be get topics. We don't have any params, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so then here we'll do import get topics from actions get topics here, right?
All right.
And then what do we do here? What is this? What am I missing here? Cannot resolve action types, okay. Okay. Okay, so now we have like this initial thing, and then this needs to return a function, right? Like literally, I don't remember how to write a Redux action. Let's see. All right, so yeah, it returns a function with a dispatch and get state. So do this. And then what does it do? It dispatches. So here we actually do this, and then we dispatch a type or with like an action. Okay. And then this is going to be the reducer. So this is going to be done by the reducer. So let's say, I don't know, something like item list, and then hovering here. If action.type, and then item ID. All right, this is cool. Okay, so now here we call the local client.
Okay.
Right?
Yep.
Okay, so let's do this. Okay, so now here we do this, and this should be import loca from loca, like so. And then this should be import transport from loca transport HTTP.
All right.
Okay. And then we are creating this client. And our transport is localhost 3000 and GraphQL. Okay, and then we can do this. Client.query.
Dude, if this works, that'd be so nice.
Well,
Like this tool would be so nice.
it rarely does. So
What do you mean it rarely works?
no, it rarely does where you type so much code and then it just works. So let's see. You
All
are
right.
literally killing me with the screen share. I'm gonna fight through. All right, let's see if if it compiles. Um, Critical dependency. The request of a dependency is an expression. Okay, I don't know. Doesn't seem like this is a critical thing. Okay, so let's see what we have here. Oh, yeah, I haven't called it yet. So this is fetch here. And then in the component itself, so home presenter here on component did mount, we are going to call this dot props dot get topics. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So let's see if this works. Right. So let's see here. Let's refresh. Okay, and we already have a bug here. Yeah, seems like oh, it's fetch topics. Okay. So okay, where are we now? Let's look at the console. Okay, method not allowed. Fetch API cannot load localhost GraphQL. Response to pre-flight request doesn't pass access control. Okay, so now we are actually
Did we get the data?
no. So what happened is I am trying to query localhost 3000 here,
Yeah.
and I can't. So I'm gonna do this for GraphQL, and then I'm gonna stop the Webpack server. And what I need to do is I need to define the proxy in the Webpack.
Yeah. Like what we did with the matching tool, right?
Yeah. So here, proxy for GraphQL, it's gonna go to localhost 3000. Okay, and then yarn start. Let's see how much my computer is suffering right now. Yeah, man, OBS. And you see, it's like Skype.
56%.
Yeah, but it's all fake because it's Skype that's making OBS suffer, and then OBS is suffering too much. Yeah, next time we're gonna do the SSH again.
Okay.
Because the screen sharing is too hard. Okay, so now we have the proxy going, and we have the client going, and it's rebuilding, so it's like at 63%. So once it's rebuilt, let's see where we are. One thing that I'm optimistic about is that it did try to do the request.
Yeah. It means like
What's going on? Oh no. Okay.
You have the versions stuff again.
Yeah, well, it's because I did because I checked out. Okay, let's do Node.js. Let's rebuild it. Okay, so let's hope it rebuilds quickly this time. In the meantime, people in the chat room, any questions, feedbacks, anything that is not clear to you, let us know. If you have any questions regarding GraphQL, Node, JavaScript, engineering in general, the chat is your domain. So go ahead and ask.
Or life in general. That works too.
Okay, so we have this, and you know what I want to do?
What?
I want to do this. So let's do cat picture fake API. There is like this cat picture fake API thing where you can grab, yeah, you see the cat API. So what I want to do is instead of
You don't like the frog picture?
well, what I want is I want each of them to have a different thing, a different one.
This is nice.
Um, so let's see. I think it's just this. You see? So but it's GIF, so I don't want GIF. But there is another one like this. Let me see. Yeah, place kitten. Yeah, you see?
Uh-huh.
So you can have this, and then every time you refresh, it's gonna be like a different picture
Okay.
when it works. But this doesn't seem to work. Right. Let's see. Oh, this doesn't seem to work. Okay. Yeah, I think this one works. No, but I think it's my. It's all because of your screen sharing. Okay, so let's see if Node recompiled. It didn't. So why is this not working?
You can't blame everything on the screen sharing, man. That's just not fair.
No, I mean look. I mean you see how slow like view source is.
It's
You
not
do
that
see
slow.
that. Look at that.
Uh, fine.
Okay. No, this is not loading. Seems like all of these pet projects just died.
Maybe we should just build a pet project.
With returning dummy images.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Open source API that returns picture of cats. That would be cool, actually. With GraphQL.
Okay, so seems like this is working. So what I'm gonna do is here in the mock.
You can dynamically call the API from the mock?
Yeah, well, I just call the image src, and the browser is gonna take care of the
Oh,
redirection.
that's pretty cool.
Yeah. So now when I do this,
Dude, see, it doesn't work.
no, because it's recompiling. Um,
That'll be fucking cool.
okay, you see?
Oh shit! And
So
then like
so
it should
now when I
return a different picture.
yeah, so now every one of our cards is gonna have a different picture.
But the frog is kind of cute too. It's not a frog, you know. It's actually a toad.
Okay, so now Node is still recompiling Node SAS. While it's recompiling, people in the chat room, please, if you have any questions, don't be shy. Just let us know. All right, so we have this, and now we have like fake pictures, and now Node is recompiling, and okay. So someone on Live EDU asked, "What are we doing?" So we are working on this project, and um, we are working on this project, and we are, live streaming and pair programming on it. So binary sloth tree um, on Twitch is asking, what am I recompiling? And the what I'm recompiling is Node SAS, which is a way for Node um, to recompile SAS to CSS. Um, and the reason I need to recompile it is because I changed the version of Node. All right, so now it recompiled, and what I can do is I can go here and I can refresh and see um, what we have here. Okay, so what we see is an interesting thing. So if we look at the network tab, we can actually see a call to GraphQL. We see the preview, so we can actually see that the data returned, all topics returned. So what we actually see is that this thing worked. We can actually see the data here. So
I
what?
can't I can't SSH. You didn't open up the session.
Yeah, let me just open it up in a second. So, um, what we can see is that this worked. It actually did the query to um, to the GraphQL server, and the GraphQL proxied the request through Webpack, right? So if we see the code here, let's just open it up a bit. So you see here that transport is doing just /GraphQL, and then here the Webpack is proxying /GraphQL to HTTP localhost 3000. So this is pretty cool. So, and then here we see that ID, title, and description, everything is working. So here we can actually now console.log the result of all topics, and let's see if we have this. So I'm not sure if result is with the data or without the data, but we can see that. So yeah, there it is. So you can actually see that the result, we have the object, we have the description, we have the tags, um, and then we have everything here. So what we can do from here, is dispatch, like literally here, we can dispatch, and we are going to dispatch like the action name, and we'll do like topics is result dot all topics, and action, is it action or name? I don't remember. I think it's name. So let's do here. It's name, and then this is going to be I don't know, something like action types dot fetch all topics, like so, right? Um, yeah, and oh, it's type, right? Thanks, you're right. So it's type. So binary sloth tree. Thank you. You're right. It's type. So then I dispatch action types, which is not here yet. I'm gonna import it in a second. Um, and fetch all topics, and then topics gonna be result, and this is gonna be stored in our state. Yes, I did. Okay, so um, let me just set up Stevens here, and let him SSH into my machine. And how do I change the name of a Redux session? I literally never remember. Redux change session name. Oh, it's not. Oh, come on, Tmux. Yeah, you see, like this is I always like click this link. Okay, so it's dollar. Okay, so all right. So you can now SSH, Steven. So go ahead.
Okay.
Okay, so let's do here. So let's do
So
actually.
it worked.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It worked. And
So that's
this is all I want, right? Um,
pretty
okay.
nice. I mean, it's much better than Polo.
Yeah. So fetch all topics from. So this is. Let's do action types, I guess. Mm, don't really like the names, but let's do this. I don't know if I like this name, but I think for now it's okay. And then let's do this. Um, let's make the src and then action types, and then action types dot index.js, and then export fetch all topics, and then this equals fetch all topics. All right, so this. Okay, and I think this should be 2 levels up, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, I think this is 2 levels up. Is it 2 levels up? Let's see. So, so we have, this is 1, so it's 2, 3. I don't like this, but it compiles now, so we'll leave it at that. And then here, I don't need the get state. I can get rid of that and get rid of all these style warnings. Okay. Okay, so then dispatch type is fetch all topics and then topics. So now we need a reducer for this. SRC and so let's make their SRC reducers and this is gonna be topic or topics, I guess, and then SRC reducers topics index.js is gonna be reducer and this is gonna be one level up. Initial state is topics is an empty array and loading is false. Yeah, I think we'll leave it at that for now. And we're gonna return the initial states here. All right, so this is a bit of plumbing here. As action types. So what's going on here now? Oh, action types is being imported but not used. Okay. So now reducers index.js. And we are going to import topics from topics. Okay, so I'm missing a comma here. I need to get rid of all these style comments, but I'll do it in a second. Okay, so now what failed to compile? Okay, can't resolve action types in topics. So this is 2 levels up. Okay, so now if we go here and we go to inspect, we should, where is my Redux? There it is. We should see our state.
Why is it showing the frog? Oh no, it's
well, it's not connected yet.
yeah.
Yeah, this is what I have. So let's go to configure store. And what's missing here? Nothing. Let's refresh. Now it seems like this is not really connected. Oh, come on. So stupid sometimes. Okay.
Yeah, that's
Um,
that's the blog page. That's why it's showing the frog.
yeah, but anyway, it's not connected yet. Okay,
Oh, it's
now
still showing the frog.
oh, no, now it's okay. So let's see the state. So we have topics, and then topics here is an empty array. So this is good. And now, in the reducer, So let's close this. So reducers, topics, index. So if action.type equals action types dot fetch all topics, then we are going to return topics equals action dot topics and loading false. Okay, so this
Cool.
is what we're gonna do, and we're gonna refresh this. So this should be this, and then we should see that in our state. Okay, so here it is, and we have the topics, and in the topics we have the ID and everything else.
Nice. Very nice.
All right, so now we can move forward. All right, so in our component, so let's just format this a bit. Let's just get rid of all those X's. It's driving me pretty crazy. And then this is this. Export default function. All right, so this is this. And now we are going back to our component. So home index here. And we're going to map state to props. And we're going to do const topics equals, so it's topics equals state dot topics. Okay, and then here we are going to return topics. Okay.
All right.
Man, all this style is pretty annoying. Okay. Okay, so let's see if it compiles, and it does. And now in our presenter JS, right? So we can do this. So, and I never, ever remember how to do this, but basically it's this. So this dot props dot topics dot map, and then this is topic, right?
Mm-hmm.
So then this is going to be like return render card and topic. And then here we're going to have a render card that will accept a topic. Okay? And what we're going to do is we're going to return, just for now, we're going to return, I don't know, a paragraph with topic dot title, and then close out the paragraph here. And for now, we can remove the cards. Okay, so let's see if that works. Oh, it's this dot render card. Okay, so refresh. Yeah, this dot render card. You're right. Okay, so you see this? So this
Yeah,
is already coming, from the
yeah.
server, all of
That's
this.
pretty good.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
So what we can do is we can now render the card here and pass in the topic as topic, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then in the card, so let's do this here. So now let's go to the card and let's go to the presenter. And where is, so you see here in SRC,
Yeah.
so we're gonna do topic dot name, topic dot thumbnail, and then here, const topic is shit. Sorry. So topic equals this dot props, and then this is topic dot thumbnail, and then this is topic dot title, right? So
Yep.
topic dot title, and then this is topic description. And then here we're gonna render the tags in a second. Okay. All right. You see that?
Cool.
All
Where's
right.
the picture? Where's the?
Yeah. Let's see. So this is probably because it's trying to redirect. But let me verify. So yeah, it doesn't have an SRC. So this is likely a misspell. So I'm gonna spell it correctly. Let it refresh, and we see it.
Cool. Awesome.
All right. So now what we can do here is render the list of tags.
Yeah.
Okay. So what we can do here is put it in a different component because that's what we want to do. But I think it's enough for today. So let's stop here and let's see what we have here. So we can do rm-f curl.sh and we can basically add everything and we can do a commit that says GraphQL working rendering on the client side and push it to master. And I think this is the time to remind our lovely chat here that this is open source. So you can go here and look at the code and make suggestions and open issues. And yeah, as you can see, we have this working. Now, the thing is that it's the same picture, but this is likely not our fault, but the fault of this service returning. Yeah, so it's like doing a redirect, and then the redirect is being cached in the server side, in the client side. So that's why it's happening. All right, so a quick recap. So we set up our server side with GraphQL. This was already working prior to the session today. And what we've done today is first messed a lot with Apollo client. I really did not like the approach of having it as a higher order component and tying it, like closely tying it to a component. So we ended up, thanks to binary sloth tree, which Stevens, remember that nickname for tomorrow's post. Um,
You're gonna have to send it to me later. I can't
I
remember.
sent
It's
it to
too.
you, and give him all the credit for suggesting Loka. And we ended up with Loka on. So let's look at the reducer topic here. Oh, sorry. So the action, forget topics. Let's clean this up. And what else does it want? I think that's it.
This Loka is pretty handy. It only took us like what 5 minutes to get it running? 10 minutes?
Yeah, like 5 seconds.
Yeah,
um,
that's a good tool. You know.
yeah. So, um, so we have that. We had that literally like Loka working in 5 minutes. And the reason we selected Loka versus working with Apollo or Relay is that again I just don't like the approach of the higher order component and tying it. I literally want is to just have that in living in the state. I realize for maybe production grade apps, I mean, for production grade apps, I mean, even at our company, we use Apollo. Um, but I mean, for this, like, I think all we're gonna have is two or three like calls like this for now. So I just didn't think it's worth the time of investing with Apollo and stuff. So Loka turned out to be really really nice. So we have that. We update the state. We have the reducer and everything working, and our client side look like this. And everything here is coming um, from the server side. You see, it's like different description. It's a different title, and we can also like do something like let's do card presenter. So now we can do um, in the href we can do item, and then here we can tie to like topic.id. I don't know, like slash topics, and then topic.id. Um, and this is gonna, well, this is not gonna show up because this should be this. Uh,
We don't have the endpoint working yet.
no, we're not. But what I'm saying is we can see like how we can have everything dynamically
Yeah.
generated. No, it's not
Yeah.
working yet. It's not. It probably didn't compile yet. Um, yeah, I didn't really like that. Um, so this is cool. And so we're gonna close today by doing this. I know that's what I'm missing. And it's late. Binary sloth tree. It's really late. So I think this is gonna close. This is gonna close out today. And thank you for the people in the chat room. You've been great today, Binary Sloth Tree, especially you. And turns out that we cannot share screen and do the streaming. It just does not scale. It just does not work. So we're gonna stick with SSH. Uh, yeah. All right, man. So have a good night, and thank you.
Yeah. Bye.